Fender releases brand new guitars in their Player Series, and Reverb increases selling fees. This is IkeGuitar. Let's dive right in. And guys, if you like these videos, please consider subscribing. I make videos all the time, but let's get back to those Player Series guitars. Today, Fender released a bunch of new guitars in their Player Series line. If you guys don't know what the Player Series line is, essentially back in 2018, Fender discontinued the Made in Mexico line and instead brought in the Player Series line. It features guitars made in Ensenada, Mexico, where they make the Made in Mexico guitars. They do use some Korean electronics as far as I'm aware, but outside of that, the Player Series is that kind of like intro level to actual made in Mexico instruments. And they also have a Ventera series, which are also made in Mexico, and they go up from there, okay? But the Player Series is kind of the lowest end Mexico-made guitar you can get from Fender right now in the moment. And they released some brand new offset guitars. And offset guitars are really fun. Offset guitars have been around for a long time, since the iteration of the Jazzmaster. And the idea behind offset, in case you guys didn't know what an offset guitar was, offset guitars are simply guitars that are asymmetrical. So if you look at my screen here, you can see I'm at the Ventera 50 Stratocaster. If you can see kind of the hugs in the guitar, these hugs in the guitar are actually symmetrical. So you sit down with it, the actual curves are going to be in line with each other straight up and down, okay? But with an offset guitar, you can see that these hugs are actually going to be offset a little bit, and it's very slight. But with a lot of the Jazzmaster style guitars, it was designed for players to sit down and play, hence the Jazzmaster style. And what happened was that people ended up liking the Jazzmaster for different reasons than Fender thought it was going to be, but offset guitars were made for really great comfort when you sit down to play. And if you've played a Stratocaster, you know sometimes it can be a little finicky getting an actual symmetrical guitar to sit on your lap just right. But the offset guitars are there, and so Fender released the Fender Jaguar, released obviously the Jazzmaster, and then the Mustangs. Later on, they released the Duosonics, and the Duosonics are the smaller end scale of the actual guitars, and they've brought those back in the Player Series. You can kind of see these really awesome Duosonic Mustangs here. And you can see it's got a humbucker and a single coil, and it looks really, really nice. You can get it in Pal Ferro. As we said, Pal Ferro is kind of the economy version of rosewood, and we've got several different kinds of bursts. And don't forget, we also have the Player Mustang 90s. The Player Mustang 90s are going to be P90 based Mustangs. This one comes in a beautiful seafoam green. We've got other finishes as well. The Burgundy Mist Metallic comes in Pal Ferro, and the Aged Natural comes in Pal Ferro as well. Also, updates to our Player Lead series. Once again, another offset guitar, but these guitars are going to be a little bit more Strat style in the way they handle and the different kinds of pickguard. Honestly, you can see in these renders, it looks really, really sharp if you like the neon greens and you like things like the crimson red translucent finish. Really, really cool looking. So when it comes to deciding if an offset guitar is good for you, just keep in mind that I would say most likely offset guitars aren't going to offer you an incredible range of tones that a Strat or a Tele could get on its own. Now, you are going to have some different variations in the way it's built. For example, the Duosonic Mustangs have always been a little bit shorter, 24-inch scale length as opposed to the 25.5 scale length on most guitars. So it's going to be a little shorter, and it is going to be a little bit of a different feel for you guys. I would say, though, that a lot of these guitars sound really good. I've played a Player Series guitar. I haven't played these particular models of the new Mustangs and the new Jaguars, but the Player Series guitars, they sound really, really good. And I would say they honestly rival in comparison to the Venteras, which are a step up. What you get with Venteras that you don't get with essentially the Player Series guitars is that the Venteras tend to be a bit more like rooted in the actual decade that they're in, hence the Ventera 50s or the Ventera 60s. So when deciding whether you want to buy an offset guitar, best thing to do is just go try them out. They're honestly a whole lot of fun to play. I love playing Jazzmasters, love playing Jaguars, and I honestly love Mustangs. I mean, I like grunge. I've always been a fan of grunge, and Mustangs got really big in those days, and I've always wanted a vintage Mustang. That's why I haven't really bought a Player Series Mustang, but I tell you what, with this seafoam green P90 Mustang, it might be hard for me to pass that one up. Now, these do come with Duosonic pickups voiced for these guitars. Once again, never played the Duosonics, but it'd be worth going to a store and trying them out. I think if I'm going to pick a Mustang right off the bat, it would probably be the P90 Mustang because of that gorgeous seafoam. I also like the sound of P90s. P90s aren't for everybody. Everyone needs at least one P90 style guitar, whether that be in a Les Paul, or it be in a Gretsch, or it be in a Mustang, so to speak. But P90s are a little bit more finicky than a standard pickup is, and just be aware when you're getting into that. P90s can be a little bit more whiny than a typical voiced Strat pickup would be on its own, but this guitar looks really good. I might just pick one up. It's a whole lot of fun. So the next topic today in guitar news, that Reverb announced today a increase in their seller fees for all of the instruments they sell on the website. Now, as you guys know, Reverb is one of the largest online marketplace centers devoted to selling used gear. It's kind of like the eBay of used music gear, and it's a broad range, but essentially they are increasing their seller fees from 3.5% to 5%, 1.5% more than they have been. Now, the email we were sent from Reverb was pretty funny. It was standard corporate, drivel. We want to invest in the community. We want to make our things better, and honestly, that all makes sense. Okay, so beginning August 4th, 2020, Reverb's 3.5% selling fee will increase to 5%. This revised selling fee will enable Reverb to invest more to sustain sellers' continued growth. So it's not about them making money, it's about helping you guys make money. Whatever, look at the bullcrap, whatever, but essentially it's not a bad thing that Reverb's increasing their selling fee. So what that just simply means is that if you sell a $1,000 guitar on Reverb before sales tax, Reverb takes a cut, takes $35. Now it'll be $50 on a selling of a $1,000 guitar or so. So what they're going to be doing with that money is they're investing over 30% more in marketing initiatives, so essentially YouTube, okay? SEO, online video advertising, and other digital advertising. They're going to start pushing more YouTube stuff. We're going to see that a whole lot more in Reverb. But honestly, Reverb is a really helpful place to go for the history of certain instruments. And I'm not surprised they're investing more into the YouTube world, into the online video world. They need to do that. They're competing with major box retailers like Sweetwater and Guitar Center, and although they don't necessarily sell the used gear in quantity as Reverb, it's still important to get a part of the game, okay? And once again, Reverb is simply a negotiator of prices and offers, a forum to post your own gear, okay? Reverb makes a commission, but once again, that'll be 5%, whereas Sweetwater's making a whole bunch more money off of direct sales from actual instruments. It'll be interesting to see what Reverb does. Reverb is huge. I wouldn't be surprised if Reverb got acquired down the road. It's been online for a while now, but it is going to be a whole lot less than eBay, okay? Because eBay, once again, they're an online seller of everything. They charge a 10% selling fee for everything that you sell on the website, and that can increase depending on what you're selling. So if you're selling DVDs or games, it's actually 12%. So in the end, 5% isn't a bad amount, especially because, let's be honest, we want Reverb to continue to develop the marketplace, right? Now, if you're a buyer, you're like, no sweat, I'm good to go. But for a seller, things get a little bit more crazy, because essentially what they're doing is, because they're increasing their selling fee by 1.5%, you can expect the laws of economics, a well-minded retailer that's selling on Reverb is also going to mark up their costs by 1.5%. That might not be as bad if I'm buying from Joe Schmo out in Arkansas, but if I'm buying from a really well-known, music shop like Gruen's or Manchester Music Mill or any of the other major, mom and pop shop style retailers, or even more established retailers like Chicago Music Exchange, you're going to expect to spend a lot more money on your instruments. And we're talking like, if you're spending $2,000 on an instrument, you're going to end up paying an extra $100 on that instrument, okay? So it's going to be interesting to see what retailers will do. Honestly, though, it's going to be probably worth more in the end for Reverb if they can make do with their 5%. Now, they didn't give us too much of a leeway. It's August 4th, so we're right now in mid-July. It's going to give everybody about, 2 weeks to figure out how they're going to increase their prices to make up for the increase in the selling fee. But I think what we're going to see is hopefully Reverb will make do on their promise by increasing the capacity of their product team and also really increasing their global customer support. Because what we want is we want Reverb to grow. We want Reverb to be open to more sales outside of the United States. I would love to buy directly from Japan, okay? And it's tricky going through taxes and whatnot, but this might give Reverb enough leeway to start doing things like calculating foreign tax so that I don't have to deal through all the mumbo jumbo of selling to a person in another country. And also will really help the actual like market to flourish, because the more prices we see coming from different countries, the lower it's going to be for everybody, right? So if we have more competing people from other countries selling their used gear onto Reverb's marketplace, it means that the cost of more local gear is going to go down to compete with that. So as far as competition is concerned, this is probably a good move for Reverb. It'll be interesting to see in the future how far this goes, if people like it, if people don't. But I don't think Reverb's going to have too much of a problem. The important thing, though, is to keep from the power creep. And I'm going to use the term power creep. It's a gaming term. Essentially, power creep is when developers insert certain things into a game that essentially over time completely change the way the game is played. And the same thing with Reverb. Now, 1.5% isn't so bad on its face when we talk about big box retailers or even mom and pop stores who rely on Reverb sales across the country to supplement their growth. Increasing that is kind of like getting kicked in the shins after a long, hard summer, right? Like, we're dealing with COVID. We've got enough economic problems on our own. You know, the margins are already super tight on a lot of instruments selling and buying, and now they're going to increase essentially the tax, the Reverb tax, by 1.5% to 5%. So, interesting time to do this, but I can see the long run investment strategy. Let's hope that it works, and hopefully it'll bring a whole lot more people to Reverb in the future, and hopefully increase the pool of things we can buy from the website. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video of IkeGuitar. If you liked it, please consider subscribing. I make videos all the time. I don't just talk about the economy and the marketplace of guitar buying and selling. I also do playthrough videos. I do reviews. I do fun stuff like that. So be sure to subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what you think of today's episode. Do you think that this 1.5% increase is going to matter in Reverb's future, or will it be a positive or a negative? And also, let me know what you think of the new player series announced today by Fender. Those Mustangs look awesome. I look forward to playing at a Guitar Center very soon.